Hi, my name is Upendra, and I'm at ICC Milpitas. We are hosting very first wellness, cracking the wellness code. Uh, we had some amazing speakers. Context, everybody would not necessarily disagree with me because this is the apt time, and especially in Silicon Valley, we produce products for the global consumption. But what these people go through, and with me today, we have a very special person I would like to introduce, Dr. Ashish Mathur. And Ashish Mathur comes from South Asian Heart Center. And we are good at heart, but very weak at heart also, especially Asians, right? So I would like to have some intervention with you and see what is that audience can expect out of this content which you are about to share with them. So would you like to give a synopsis what if
Sure.
audience can expect?
So first of all, I'm not a physician.
Okay.
I started the South Asian Heart Center, which is a resource for the Indian community to work their lifestyles and prevent disease. South Asian Heart Center is a non-profit organization that has been created as a response to the epidemic of heart disease and diabetes. And now our focus is on educating individuals about their risks and helping them through counseling and coaching to implement lifestyles that will help them reduce risk and prevent disease.
Wonderful. I've been, I don't know whether you were there when Dr. Neil Bernard was here first thing in the morning, and he's a huge promoter for vegan food and plant-based diet, right? And India happens to be the largest country when we talk about vegetarian food, you know. But when we talk about a vegan, so when we talk about vegan, it's in the Indian religion itself, the consumption of dairy products. Krishna was big, you know, he's fond of, butter and milk and all sorts of stuff. And then when we go to Shiv temple, for example, we offer milk itself, right? So our god and goddesses had been consuming dairy products, right? So it was very difficult for me to understand how do I move from a pure vegetarian to vegan diet, because there are a lot of advantages as far as heart disease are concerned, diabetes is concerned, and chronic diseases are concerned. We can definitely get rid of a lot of problems, avoiding meat diet, and then of course removing dairy from our diet. What are your thoughts on it?
Let me ask you a question first before answering, or talking about this thing. Is that being, a meat eating or a dairy product eating person for all for your life, would you find it hard to give it up, just like it was talked about today?
You know what? It's very interesting when we talk about dairy. I think of milk as a product which is the first thing I consumed, but it came from my mother. And cow is mother to me. This is how we carry it it's been built over a period of time. But there was talk how the beneficiary should have been the baby of the cow, but now that baby is deprived of that milk, right? So if it is given with the pleasure that mother wants to feed somebody, it's an offering coming from someone. So to me, that is not, because this is more on the humanity side of things, right? I don't know what the medical science talks about it, because people moving toward vegan food, it's coming from environmental kind of sensitivity, cruelty, or from that angle, or just because we want to be healthy.
So actually, Dr. Bernard actually gave the example of a patient with a disease that was food driven
Okay.
and dairy driven. That was his first example. And then he talked about the cruelty next, right?
Yes.
So it's kind of both those angles that kind of make his presentation, worthwhile to listen to. At the South Asian Heart Center, we feel that because dairy is so ingrained in us, and we'll talk about ghee, and you talked about Lord Krishna on the other side, right? That was the thing that and you get up in the morning and you have a glass of milk. That's how we've been trained, right?
Absolutely.
That it's very difficult for people to give that up.
Sure.
Maybe there is 3 or 4% of the people that come to us, and if we told them that become vegan, they will become vegan. Only 3 to 4%. The remainder of us are going to continue eating our milk and our dairy and our yogurt. You talk to a South Indian and tell them to take away the dahi bath. It's going to be very, very difficult. Exactly, right? So that's the thing. So at the South Asian Heart Center, we have come up with a method for everybody.
Right.
For the 99% or the 97% of the people for whom it's going to be hard to kind of give up, or give up meat for that matter, right?
Right.
You can't, it's a process. It'll take some time. And so we create a framework for them to decide and how to evaluate foods for themselves.
It brings a very interesting point, especially for this discussion. Ancient time. When I look at ancient times till today, agriculture used to be the base for economy, and that was the livelihood for most people. They had to work in the field, work very hard, and that probably explains the intake for dairy product and a lot of fat goings, So they could burn it out during daily activities, physical activities, which we don't necessarily get to see it in Silicon Valley because times have changed, right? So that could be a justification, which I can very well see. India happens to be the largest vegetarian eaters, right? So 1/3 of India is vegetarian. Rajasthan.
At the South Asian Heart Center, 40% of the people that come to the South Asian Heart Center are vegetarians.
Sure. And, because when I was getting ready for hosting the dinner for Dr. Neil Bernard yesterday, I was the host yesterday. And I had to prepare myself. So I did a little research and all that. So Rajasthan happens to be 75%, vegetarian. And, Telugu, Andhra, for example, Telangana, 99% people are meat eaters, non-vegetarian, right? And of course, I come from a Brahmin family. I never saw anything but vegetarian food till age of 15. But then I came to Delhi, and I was spoiled, because then there were options. You will have restaurant with vegetarian, they would have restaurant non-vegetarian.
Yes.
And you being, Mr. Mathur, right? You guys cook very, if in Hindus.
Meat was part of the family.
Absolutely, because you grew up with this thought process, right? How does it impact when it comes to very crucial organ of our body, that's heart, right? And how do we, from a prevention side of things, especially especially Indians move to Silicon Valley. We bring DNA with us, but we bring a different work habits, work environment. How do we cope up with this change?
So how do you cope up with this change? Actually, it's beautiful because if you stop by our booth today, we talk about the plate method.
Okay.
So first of all, there is just so much stuff out there that it's hard to kind of figure out what's the right thing to do or not to do. What we have done is taken this concept that has come out in the last few years about the plate method to design the plate for individuals. Like, what do you put on the plate? How much of it do you put on the plate? Where does it go on the plate? How do you decorate the plate, etc.?
Wow.
So it becomes a visual, starting with the size of the plate. And that becomes a practical kind of way to look at how to get foods in.
Wow.
Now, if you're a vegetarian,
awesome,
then there is one way to kind of look at it. If you are a non-vegetarian, then there's another way to kind of look at it. And you incorporate that. The basic principles of what Dr. Bernard talked about and the basic food groups, for example, the veggies, the fruits, etc., they have a place on the plate. And the proportions are kind of outlined. So I would really suggest for you to stop by our plate and we can talk about it. And maybe if this is televised in front of the plate, it becomes a better way to kind of, look at that.
You know what? I travel to 25 countries. I teach, mentor, coach people, entrepreneurs worldwide. And most places, they will serve buffet. especially when you are coaching a group of people.
Yes.
And I will always say that whatever right I have on food would have to show up very first time. So I will only walk up to that place and put the food on my plate. I would never ever go to second time, third time, fourth time, no matter what is there. Even if I like some dish more than other, I would never ever go ever again, right? So one day I was traveling and I was in Dubai. I was sitting at the airport and this guy walks up to me, Mr. Giri. I said, so he kind of recognized me. I said, I've seen you somewhere. He says, you know, you taught me 10 years back and I was just watching you because it's a buffet. It is something which you order. But I see that what you preached that day, do you practice that? And I was observing you. So what you have given me another validation today.
Yes. Absolutely. As a matter of fact, I'm glad you brought up the buffet.
Right.
Right? Because that's where everything that you've learned could go wrong because there's just so much food right in front of you, right? Everywhere. We call it the buffet parikrama. So what we teach people who are joining our program at the South Asian Arts Center is how to apply that plate method when you are doing the buffet. And you know what we tell them is the following, is that the first time that you go to the buffet, you do not pick up your plate. You're going to go and make a circle around the buffet and look at all the things that are being served on the buffet. And you're going to have the picture of the plate in front of you. And
Right.
so you'll have mentally picked the things that you are actually going to put on the plate and in the places as you were told to decorate with the plate method. Then you pick up the plate the second time around and then just stop at the places that you already know that you're going to pick and decorate the plate. And we call it the buffet parikrama. So I want to give a tip regarding ghee because this is a question that comes up very often to us, right? Sure. To try, and we've kind of even created a topic name for ghee, which is like, oh gee, what about ghee? And the basic thing is the following, is that, you know, according to Ayurveda, ghee is good for you, right? Dr. Neil Bernard says that it's a dairy product, you know, it's not part of the vegan diet,
Right.
and it should not be part of it. And, you know, we need to move on from that thinking. So how do you kind of, you know, make it work for you? Because ghee adds taste to your meals, makes that flavorful, makes it, you know, fun to eat, etc. So then my answer to it is like, first of all, figure out about you first before deciding on what you need to do about
Sure.
ghee. And how do you find out about yourself? So ghee raises cholesterol levels. It raises actually the cholesterol levels, both the good and the bad cholesterol, as we call it. Okay? So if you have a bad cholesterol problem, the LDL, having ghee is not going to help you.
Okay.
Okay? Because it's going to raise that bad cholesterol. So you first want to fix that problem. And you can do that through lifestyle mechanisms, which is keeping away from saturated fat,
Sure.
you know, looking at complex carbohydrates, you know, better consumption of those, etc. And you fix your LDL problem that way. And with lifestyle changes, you are able to make a lot more change on your bad cholesterol versus, you know, medicines that are out there. Once your LDL problem is fixed, then you can try to raise up your good cholesterol with the use of ghee. And flavoring ghee, like putting a little bit of ghee on something, may be better than just cooking in ghee.
Oh, okay.
You know, and you know, for example, on your chapati, a little bit
Sure.
of ghee, or on your rice or whatever, just for the flavoring.
Sure.
And then that's how you can incorporate ghee in a much better way.